It's really hard to come off all three, hard drugs, cocaine, heroin, and alcohol. And at the same time, it was rough. Most statistically, you don't make it. You just don't. The odds are really stacked against you. And somehow I made it. And that just led me to believe, okay, why'd you make it, Dave? What happened? Which kind of that I started getting me, more thoughtful about what's life about? Why am I here? What's this, what's going on here? Let's get deep here. AA really led me into the personal development industry as well.
Nice.
And that's what got me. I was up, I had insomnia because my sleep patterns were really, really bad. My system was so whacked out. It took me really 3 years almost to recover from the physical side of pouring that many drugs and alcohol. That's, the first 3 years are really the spiritual, emotional, and the physical cleanup, if you will. That's what gets worked on.
Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello, Fearless Freedom Tribe. This is Dr. G, and we are back for another exciting episode of the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast. Today, we have Dave Albin, and he is going to tell us all about who he is and all of the wonderful things that he is up to. Take it away, Dave.
Thanks, Dr. G. Wow, where do I start? My dad used to say, start at the beginning.
For some reason, your audio is going in and out.
Let's see. How about now? I think it should be okay.
I want to
now.
hear the story. The story is good, so I want to hear all of it. Okay.
Yeah, right. All right. So we good now? Did that work?
Yes, we're good now. Yes.
Yeah, cool.
So you said that Dad went to the store and unfortunately did not return.
Never saw or heard from him again. He was
gone. My gosh.
So my mom gave birth. By the way, this is in Hollywood, California. I was born in the Queen of Angels Hospital, that's where all the movie stars, and people went to the hospital, right? And then my mom worked up the street, Hollywood Boulevard, at the Fremont Hotel. So she was a server. She had 2 kids 2 boys when I was born, different fathers, and then me.
Okay.
And so when I was 5 years old, she realized she couldn't take care of me. So she put me up for adoption, Dr. G, to her sister, which would have been my aunt and uncle, right? And I went to live with them at 5 years old. They were in Long Beach, California. And when I was 11, they set me down. I'm going into 4th grade here, right? In 1964. And the first day of summer, they set me down and they said, David, we need to tell you something. And my mom put her hand on my hand and she said, David, we're not your parents. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you're not my parents? They said, well, we're actually your aunt and uncle. When you were born, blah, 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 blah. They kind of went through the story to tell me what happened. And so I'm saying, so you're telling me that my Aunt Dean is my mother? And she said, yeah, that's exactly what we're telling you. And I'm thinking, I don't even like her.
Oh, no.
she's weird, right? But here's why. Because she was always touching me. Well, I wonder why. I was her son.
Yeah.
Right? So I put that together. Well, shortly after they told me about that, I was adopted by them, they both started drinking. They had sworn off when I was 5 and they adopted me, they swore off drinking. But like right after they told me this, within days, they both started drinking. And so everything changed. It just went from this wonderful, go camping, hang out, go get ice cream, kind of a family thing, into we're drinking, and then there's the aftermath of the alcoholism and what that does, right? So I very, very early on, right after they started drinking, I tried alcohol for the first time. I drank brandy because I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know what they were drinking. I wanted to know why these two amazing people turned into people that weren't so amazing when they were drinking like that. And so I tried alcohol, and I was done. Dr. G, that was it. I had no chance. I was an alcoholic right on the spot.
Oh my gosh.
I'm 11 years old. I was hiding. I can't even begin to tell you. It just took over my life. Well, let me fast forward this. Okay. Let me fast forward all of that. School, got kicked out of school, drugs, alcohol, hanging around bad people, hanging around prostitutes, pimps, drug dealers, guns, violence. It all ensued. And then on June 8th of 1988, I woke up that morning and I was in such excruciating physical and emotional and spiritual pain. I said, today we're done. I'm out. And so I went and loaded my pistol, knowing that if I put a bullet in my head, that'll all end. I won't feel any more pain. It's over. I wasn't toying with anything. I wasn't going, if you're going to go to hell if you do that, Dave. None of that was going through my mind. All that was going through my mind is that I was in such excruciating pain, and this would take care of it. Well, after I was married to a woman who had 3 kids, and I knew if you do that, dude, you know what's going to happen. Those 3 kids are the ones that are going to be punished, and your wife, because they're the ones who have to clean up the aftermath and see it and deal with it. And so I go, man, you can't do that. And so that just led me, in a moment of compassion, it led me to picking up a phone and calling a group called Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay.
I went to my first meetings, I should say, on June 8th. I went to a 12:30, a 4:30, 6:30, and an 8:30. I went to an all-men's group, and those men put their arms around me and said, you need to stay real close with us, young man. We're going to help you, but man, you better do everything we tell you to do, because you're in bad shape. This will kill you fast. And I believed them, and I knew what they were telling me was the truth. So I did what they told me to do. So one day turned into 2 and 3, and then a week, and then a month. And in a month, I got a little chip.
Nice.
Right? Look like that.
Yes.
There it is,
yes.
right? Little chip. And it said 1 month on it.
Nice.
And then I got a 2 month, a 3 month, a 6 month, a 9 month, and then I got the 30, the year, the blue chip, which is 1 year, right? This one here says 34. Of course, you probably can't see that. And I'll have one here in June if my dog doesn't chew me up and eat me or something.
Oh no!
I got a German Shepherd here that's always by my side, right? So I'll have 35 years of sobriety. So this is where it starts.
That is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It is. It is amazing. It's really hard to come off all 3. Hard drugs, cocaine, heroin, and alcohol. At the same time, it was rough. Most statistically, you don't make it. You just don't. The odds are really stacked against you, and somehow I made it. And that just led me to believe, okay, why'd you make it, Dave? What happened? Which kind of, that I started getting me, more thoughtful about what's life about? Why am I here? What's this, what's going on here? Let's get deep here. AA really led me into the personal development industry as well.
Nice.
And that's what got me. I was up, I had insomnia because my sleep patterns were really, really bad. My system was so whacked out. It took me really 3 years almost to recover from the physical side of pouring that many drugs and alcohol. That's, the first 3 years are really the spiritual, emotional, and the physical cleanup, if you will. That's what gets worked on. And so I was a mess for a few years there, even in sobriety. But I was up late one night and I had insomnia, and I watched an infomercial. And there's a guy by the name of Tony Robbins.
Oh my gosh, that's a good infomercial to watch.
Right? If you're going to watch an infomercial, and there he was, a young Tony Robbins. He was selling his program. It was called Personal Power.
I see.
And I jokingly tease my audiences, Dr. J, by saying it came on these little white things called cassette tapes.
Nice. I know what those are. I grew up on those.
Right, yeah. 8-track tapes, right? You talk to that people today, go, what are you talking about?
I have no idea what that is.
Right? They have no idea. I'm like, go to the Smithsonian, they're there. So I went through his program, man, talked to, and it worked. It really worked. And so I was like, cool. Well, I loaned my program to a buddy of mine in AA. And he read the book and I did. And so 7 years later in 1995, he called me. He said, "Hey, dude, guess what? Tony Robbins is coming to town. We're going." And I said, "All right, yeah, let's go. Let's do this." So he said, "I'll take care of everything." And he called me back an hour later and he said, "It's all done. We pick up the tickets at will call. Here's what they said to do. Bring snacks, drink a lot of water, keep hydrated all weekend. You're going to spend a lot of time in the room. It's going to be a long 4 days. Bring a good attitude and be ready to play full out." I said, "Dan, how much was the ticket?" And he said, $700. And it was in 1995, right?
I was going to say, it's like, not $700 anymore. But
it's like $7,000, right?
Right.
It's like hours now, right? So, yeah, sure enough, it's the day of the event. We show up. Oh my gosh, the excitement level is going crazy.
Of course.
They've got all these people at Tony have all these people out here doing balloons, and there was 3,500 people waiting, staging to get into the event. So they opened the doors at 2:00 and Tony hit the stage. And here's all I remember. 10 hours later, it's midnight, and he's got us taking our shoes off to do this firewalk. Now, by the way, when my buddy called me back to tell me we're going, he goes, at the very end when he was hanging up, he goes, "Oh, hey, I forgot to tell you something. We're going to be doing a firewalk." And I said, "Oh, yeah, that sounds really cool." And I hung up and I went, oh no, we're not going to do that. I'm not doing a firewalk. And you know what's interesting about that? I didn't even know what firewalk was, Dr. J. I had no idea. I never heard of one. I had no references. Here's what I did know, right? I'm not doing it. That's for the crazy people. I'm sure I'll go watch it, kind of a thing, right? Well, again, you get there. Tony takes the stage at 2:00. It's 10:00. Boom, or it's 12:00. He goes, "Take your shoes off." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not doing this. Why am I taking my shoes off?" And I'm going, "Well, because all these other people taking their shoes off, they're going to firewalk and you're not. And when they see you wearing your shoes, they're going to know you're wussing out." And I went, "Oh God." So I take my shoes off. Well, when he's got you walking out there, he's got everybody chanting, right? Yes, yes, yes. And then when you actually physically get outside, you go out of this giant parking lot, he's got African drummers. So those are going on, right? Dun, 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 and everybody's clapping, and it's intense. And when you get out there, there's a giant fire over in the corner. And so that fire's been burning all day. Like for 10 hours, they've been burning it. And so they stack it with a wood and it burns all the way down, and it makes the beautiful bed of coals that you've ever seen. Well, we got 3,000 people. So what they did there was they built a big fire. They loaded the coals in wheelbarrows. And then they take a wheelbarrow and go out there in the parking lot where they'd have 2 lanes of sod, of grass, laid out on both sides, about 3 feet wide, 18 feet long. And they took the coals from the wheelbarrow with a shovel, and they would spread the coals on the grass, and that's what you walked on. Well, I'm hiding in the back because I'm not doing it. Well, apparently, right? Because that was my strategy. I'm not going to do this. I'll just hide in the back. Nobody's going to know. Well, except me, right?
Right.
Well, not true. Because Tony knows where all the cowards are. They're going to go hang out in the back. So he trains people to go get them.
Nice.
Very nice. Thank God. Thank God for the man that came and got me. And you know what's interesting about him? I don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
He's just some guy that showed up in the middle of the night on a summer in Reston, Virginia. And this guy comes up and he makes eye contact with me, right? I'm sitting back there just waiting to get out of here.
Right,
and he comes up and he makes eye contact with me. And apparently what they're taught to do is once you make eye contact, don't take your eyes off.
Right.
Well, here he comes and he sees me and he makes eye contact with me and he gets probably, 25, 30 feet from me. And he looks at me and he kind of bends down, to kind of create some rapport, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And when we're not okay, what do we say?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'm good. All good around here, pal. See you later. Get away from me, right?
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. I don't want to talk to you. I can tell you that. And so he goes, and so then he asked me a question, right? He says, "So are you going to walk tonight?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And he goes, "Hey, and I said it to him with a lot of force, right? So he was kind of like taken back. And he goes, "Hey, that's fine. No problem. We don't want you to do anything you don't want to do." And I went, "Oh, okay. I don't want to do this. I like this guy. He's my ticket out of here. And then guess what? This man
Closed
that
you.
I do not, this
He
man
closed
that
you.
man, I don't know. I don't know who it is to this day, but he did. He came back and he said, well, wouldn't you at least like to watch? And of course,
Bring you closer.
You're good. That's a 99% same answer question. I imagine there's somebody that would go, nah, I don't want to watch. But he said, yeah, I do. Absolutely, I want to watch this. And he said, well, you can't see anything from here. You're 100 yards away. Just get in line and eventually you'll get close enough. You'll see it. So it's right. So, all right. I fell for it. Yeah. And you know what? In his defense, Dr. J, he was telling the truth. Right. Because I couldn't see anything. I had 3,500 people standing in front of me. I can't see anything. So I get in line, I'm marching along, kind of walking along. And, and remember, it's still African drummers. Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. So all that tempo is going on, all that exhilaration, all that's going on. Mm-hmm. I'm just walking along. And the next thing I know, some guy comes up to me and he whispers in my ear kind of loudly. He goes, he knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go. And I thought, what? What? You didn't get the memo, pal. I'm not doing this. Well, right after that happened, I looked to my right, and I could see through the crowd them actually doing it. I can't see in front of me, but I can see at an angle. And now I'm watching them. And now my brain is watching something. We're trying to get answers. We have no references. The intensity's crazy. And here's people walking on coals that are 1,000 degrees.
Yeah.
Right. So your brain's going through some really interesting things there. And the next thing I know, I turn and boom, there I am.
You're right in front of your coals.
I'm right in front of my coals. And I'm staring at them. And there's a wheelbarrow there. I can feel all the heat. They're bright red. Right. You're looking down. You're like, maybe there's a trick to it. No. They're glowing bright red. There's smoke coming off of them. Right. And so your brain's going, oh, you got to be kidding me. Well, as I'm staring into that abyss, when I was in the room with Tony for 10 hours, guess what he teaches you? Don't stare at what you fear. Okay. And I'm doing exactly what he told me not to do. I'm staring at what I fear. He said, keep your eyes up because you want to look at the celebration at the other end. That's where the celebration is. Well, as I'm staring into the abyss, there's a trainer standing right there. And he says, eyes up. Like, you dummy. Didn't you pay any attention in the room? And so now my eyes are up and I'm looking up and he said, squeeze your fist and say yes. And I went, yes. And he goes, stronger. And I went, yes. Well, he could tell I wasn't going full out, right? It was like, yes, yes. And he screamed at me. He got like right here and he screamed at me. He said, stronger. Well, now I'm like, I scream at the top of my lungs, throwing my arms in the air. Yes. And he goes, go, go, go. And I took off.
Wow.
Right. So here's the first thing I learned about firewalking. Yeah. And this is applicable to a lot of things in life, including starting almost anything. And that is when you take the first step, when you're firewalking, here's what I'll guarantee you. You'll take the second, third, fourth, and fifth. You are not going to stop on those coals. Right. And so right after I did that, right, I'm like, I'm already going through disbelief. How did I do that? Why did I do that? Oh my gosh, I'm burnt really bad. That's what's going on. And I could feel my feet were really badly burnt, right? That's what my brain's telling. But I look and they're dirty, but there's no burns. Oh, it's the other foot. No, it's dirty, but there's no burns. And so now it's like, okay, whoa, wait a minute. You walked on coals, 1,000 degrees, didn't burn yourself. You don't know how you did it. Get me out of here. What's going
you're like,
on,
this is sorcery.
there's some voodoo stuff going on around here, right? And then I'll tell you and by the way, it was one of the most exhilarating feelings of my entire life. It was so bad, ASS, that it was unbelievable, right? It was just unbelievable. I'd never, ever experienced anything like it. Jumped out of planes, surfed, did a lot of skiing, crazy jumps, you know what I mean? But nothing like this ever happened. Military, none of that. It was magical. Well, but here's where it gets really interesting. Was the next day.
Yeah.
You show up, you're in the foyer, getting ready to go into the arena, and there's 3,500 people. And I never saw or witnessed anything like it in my life. People were laughing, they were crying, they were talking. Instead of standing in line doing this, right, trying to hide from people, they were like, "Hey, how you doing?" I mean, people were hugging like crazy. It was
common
insane.
Experience. Amazing.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'm like, Dr. G, what's going on? Who are these people? What's happening? Did the Firewalk do that last night? Really? Right? Because that's the only answer.
Right.
I've never been in an event like this, been around anything like it. And next thing I know, there we are. We're a bunch of Firewalkers, and man, were we getting along in the most loving, high-spirited way that was just, again, completely magical. Well, I got somewhat addicted to that feeling of that. And so I wanted to know more about firewalking. I wanted to know more about what's going on with Tony Robbins. And here's what I learned. At every event, Tony uses about 300 volunteers. I became one. I volunteered and I got selected. Next thing you know, they found out that I had a security military background, and I got called to help with some celebrities at an event.
Yeah.
From there, I got involved with the fire building team. I was living on a farm at the time. I knew how to split wood. I knew how to use tools. I was like the perfect candidate. So I got on the fire building team. Now, if you're going to firewalk 4,000 people, there's a lot of physical work.
Yes. It's a lot of wood to chop.
There's a lot of, exactly. So, it takes a good 60, 70 people to make that happen. And I was just one of them. Well, from there, I got asked to become the assistant captain. So that was in the late 90s, right? 96, 97. I become a subcontractor for Tony Robbins. In 2003, Tony asked me to become his fire captain. Would I take over all of his firewalks globally? And I hesitantly in the beginning said no, because I homeschool, and he quickly fixed it. He said, "Well, we'll pay to have your kids travel with us. Your family can go on the road with us." And that was in 03.
Okay.
2005.
That's great for the kids. Oh my gosh. Right? What a wonderful experience.
Right. So it's really funny. There's a real funny quick story about that. So I called home when he made me the offer to tell the family what was going on. Well, one of the girls that worked in Tony's office knew my wife. And when she knew that Tony was going to make me this offer, she called my wife and said, "Hey, Tony's going to offer Dave, the fire captain position. You might be expecting a phone call. I'm just letting you know." And, because one girl to another, right? She gave me a super heads up, right? So when I called, my wife told my son, who was about 9 at the time.
Right.
And she said, "Hey, Dad's going to go to work for Tony on this full-time thing with the firewalks. So when he calls, why don't you answer the phone?" So when I called, Davey picked up, my son picked up the phone. Davey picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Dad, how's it going?" Right?
Oh, because he's so no. He
knows what's going on, right? And I said, "Hey, Davey, pretty good. Tony Robbins just offered me the position as captain, and we're thinking about that." And I said, "So how would you like to go on the road with your dad, your mom, and your sister, and Tony Robbins?" And he's like, "You think, Dad?" Like, really? Do we have to think about that? And he immediately goes, "You'll love this, Dr. G." He says, "So where's our first event, Dad?"
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And I said, "Sydney, Australia."
Oh, that's fabulous. Nice.
Right, so there we were. We're on the road, and we spent a great deal of time there. And I can talk for days about the hundreds of thousands of people, all the celebrities, all the professional athletes, Olympians, directors, producers, CEOs, famous people at every level. I was just immersed in that entire environment, and working very closely with Tony, and did security for him, and did all his firewalks. And then in 2014, something really magical happened again.
Hey, it's Dr. G, And I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank you for listening to this episode. I'm so honored to have you here with me. Did you know that I can help you to get your own podcast started? With my podcasting launch course for professionals, I walk you through everything you need to know about starting a podcast. I'm with you every step of the way, from sign up to launching your show, with 5 episodes ready to go. There's a done for you version that's also available. If you would just rather just do recordings and leave the behind the scenes work up to us, then that one is definitely for you. But either way, we've got your back here at Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Oh, if you already have a show and you need production services, we have monthly plans available for you. So check out the links in the episode show notes for more information. Let's get back to the show.
And my life has been a whole series of magical events, one after another, and when I let go to the God of my understanding in AA, my life completely just unfolded and it just revolutionized itself. Because I'm driving down the road one day in 2014, my phone rings. I giggle about this, but it's Google. And the next, I'm looking at them wanting to hire me to come to corporate headquarters to put on an event for them, which we did. I'm like, so they need to, there's certain things they want to know and that type of thing, and everything was fine. So we actually did 2 events with Google, and after that happened, I knew that it was time for me to retire and say my goodbyes to Tony Robbins and go out and do this on my own. And so Firewalk Productions was born. Firewalk Adventures was born in 2014.
Okay.
And Tony and I had a wonderful time together at my last event. And, we told each other how much we loved each other and what we mean to each other. And it was fun to sit there and chat with him about a whole bunch of things. And he wished me well. And in fact, I was just on a Zoom call with him here a weekend before last, which was really great to see him and talk to him. I hadn't talked to him personally in, gosh, I don't know, quite a few years. 2014. So was that 6, 7, 8 years? Yeah, 8 years.
Yes, quite a while ago.
So it was great to see him. And so now that's what I've done. I've created a company, and we do corporate team building, and we've incorporated a whole bunch of other things in addition to the Firewalk, where we do board breaking and brick breaking and arrow breaks, where you put the arrow in your neck and put it up against the wall and break it. We do glass walking, because obviously firewalking isn't always logistically possible.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's what we do out there in the corporate world. And, we do private events too. I just got a call. I've had calls from celebrities and private individuals who want to come and do a private firewalk.
Nice.
Right. So I get hired to do that. I love to do that. I love all of it, Dr. G, but sometimes, when you're one-on-one with an individual, it's just so much more magical, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, no, sure.
If I got 100 people, I can't connect with them like I can if somebody comes to my house and stays here for a couple of days. And I create an absolutely spectacular, it's a paradigm shift. It's a life-changing couple of days with me, and I'll get them dialed in.
Nice.
No doubt,
nice.
No doubt about it. And use these experiences to do so. Anyway, man, I thank you. I really appreciate you bringing me on the show and letting me talk to your audience a little bit about the Dave Albin Show.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many things. Thank you for sharing your story. I love how you shared it. I think that it was very colorful and engaging. I love that. My question, though, is, there were many, 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 many opportunities for fear to kind of thwart your progress there in your life. Yeah. And I don't know which one you want to tackle, but is there one that you want to talk about how you address the fear?
I think I've got a lot of help with it because fear had taken a lot away from me growing up. There was a lot of fears, just like we all face, right? And I think as the older we get, at some point, if you can figure out that if you don't conquer your fears, then they're going to become your limitations. And fear will constantly take things away from you. And it will deprive you of living a spectacular life. Because, everything most people want is right over there on the other side of your fear. and so I recognized that what it was doing to me, right? We've got the acronyms with it, face everything. And what is it to you? What is fear to you? Face everything and rise, or forget everything and run. And AA helped me with that too, because AA said false images appearing real.
Yes.
That firewalk basically told me that I can do whatever I want. And I've seen people do this. It's not just like, oh, it just applies to me and there's these extraordinary things. No, I talk at my seminars all the time. I'm like, I've got a guy, his name's Eric Weinmeier. And what a guy this is. This dude is unbelievable. And so when I'm talking, I put a picture of him behind me on the screen and I just leave it there. And it's really obvious where he's standing because he's standing at the top of Mount Everest. And so I just let it sit there and I let it sit there and sit there. And finally I make him stare at it, right? And then I come back and I ask him, so who here can tell me where my buddy Eric here is standing? And they'll say, it looks like Mount Everest. That's correct. That's Mount Everest. And there's something really physically wrong with Eric, but you got to look really close. Who here? Now, if you already know, don't answer, right? But I tell them, but if you don't know, and once you see what's physically wrong with him, raise your hand and tell me. Okay. And they'll go, oh, one leg's longer than the other one. Because the way he's standing like this, right? He's standing at an angle.
Okay.
So one leg does look longer than the other one, right? But it's just an illusion, right? And so
wow.
I said, before you say anything, let me tell you something else about Eric. He's climbed the 7 highest mountains on Earth. The 7 highest mountains, 7 different continents. And you ought to see this guy ride a mountain bike or take a paddle and jump in a canoe and go down a river. This guy is skilled. And here's what's wrong with him physically. There's nothing wrong with him physically. He's blind.
Really? That's fascinating.
Right? So, and I tell people, I go, look, I told you that I made this a point of telling you this because I wanted to mess with your head. Because if you want to do something in your life, do it. Stop negotiating with yourself. Either do it or shut up about it. Literally. And so it's like firewalking. If you take the first step towards that thing that you want to do or that you want to become, you'll take the rest of them. Just take the first step. It's such a magical distinction in life. Now that can lead to other things like, right, like I get asked, I'm on podcasts, right? I get asked all the time. So Dave, what's your regimen every morning? What do you think about? What do you do every day? Every morning? Kind of a thing, right? You're 69 years old. You're running like a racehorse still. You're on no medications, right? So what do you do? Well, the first thing I do every morning when I get up is I make my bed. Non-negotiable. I don't care where I am. Make my bed. Number 2, hydrate. Number 1, should be the most important thing in your life. Why? Because you're 70% water. That's why. So it would stand to reason you might want to drink some water and get your body going. Now, I add things to that, Dr. G, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I put turmeric, I put lemon, I put ginger. Sometimes I'll make a brew at night. I'll pour that in with my water and drink that because that helps my digestive and colon and all that, right? Really good for you. It also inflammation and it gets you burning your sugar and your fat right too for weight loss. So I do that. And then typically from there, I get into meditation and sound therapy. And then after I do that, I typically read 10 pages in a good book, a motivational book, something inspiring. And that's before I ever touch this thing called a cell phone or any electronics. So that's my regimen. I try to get at least 8 hours sleep when possible.
Right.
I can function pretty well on 6.
Hmm.
And then, and then I get hosts that ask me, so Dave, what's your number one piece of advice to a listener? Number one, focus on the quality of water that you consume. Because it's something that's going on right now. It's a phenomenon in America and nobody's paying attention to it. Our grandparents drank water out of the ground.
Hmm.
That's called spring water, mountain
Hmm.
water. It's alive. If it comes through a faucet in your kitchen through a municipality, it is no longer alive. It's dead. That's a fact. If you drink it out of a plastic bottle or a plastic container, it's dead. The only way you can drink good water is you get it out of a spring, you get it out of a well. I live in the Appalachian Mountains, so I've got mountain spring water coming into my house. Focus on the water and drink. If you can, drink it. Try to get at least half your body weight. That'll keep the systems moving and doing what you want to do so that your brain and your body can function. And then those other things that I shared are what I do every day.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. And then,
Sure.
so tell us, how can people get in contact with you?
Just go to our website. That's the best way, which is firewalkadventures.com. Come say hi. I have a Facebook page too. You can come there, and our website pretty much tells you what it is. Go check it out. You'll love it. It's really cool. It's not your everyday normal website where you go
Sure.
look at something, right? It's got some it's got some great videos and stuff about me. A student at the University of North Carolina a couple of years was a senior, and she was in film and documentary. Is what's her major, and she called me on the phone. I got again, it was a few years ago, a couple years back, and she said, "Hey, my class project is to find somebody in the state of North Carolina who's interested and interview them." And that she gets her final grade for that. She had
Wow.
to create a documentary about that person. Well, she called me on the phone, bless her heart, and really, I don't want to say she begged, but she's like, "Oh God, if you could do this for me, it would be so great." Well, what was really great is I had a whole week off, and she came and she spent an entire week with me. And she created the documentary. So from that, it's actually on my website, it gives, kind of the story of what happened and what we do and how we do it.
Fantastic.
I also, one other thing, if I could plug this, and this may not have any interest at all to any of your viewers, but if somebody ever wanted to come to the Dave Albin Firewalk Academy, which is where you come to me and you spend 5 days with me, and I teach you everything I've learned over the last 30 years in the personal development industry, including how to create these unbelievable life-changing experiences, and then how to go home and do it for your family or your friend or your community or your circle of influence. I'm retiring this year in 2023. It'll be my last one, but that's coming up in the first week of October. It's October 3rd through the 7th, and you can, if you want to check that out, and we can get on a discovery call together, and I'll make sure it's a darn good fit before you decide to do it.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations early on your retirement. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. I'm really excited about it. I'll probably do, I've got a few clients of mine that are really big clients, and they're awesome, and they've been with me through thick and thin. And if they want to do an event, I'll do that. But the thing about the Academy is now I'll have a group of really well-trained people that want to do this, so that when companies call us, I'll say, "Hey, I got Dr. G in your backyard. Where are you from? Yeah, she'll come do it, or he'll come do it, whoever." And so that part of the company will continue on.
That's great. It's a good legacy. That is awesome. This has been such a great conversation, Dave. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. It is. Absolutely.
And
Very
we
cool
have a tradition on the show where we have a fill in the blank segment. Are you ready? Are you
Okay,
ready
yeah,
for that?
sure.
Okay, all right,
Absolutely.
cool.
Let's
Okay,
do it.
great. You're born ready anyway, so there you
That's
go.
right. What you talking about?
So the first one is, if I am fearless, I will.
Do anything I want to do. So
Oh,
see, that's the separation. Such a
yeah.
powerful question. Oh my gosh. So when you separate that, that opens up to, okay, whatever's possible. Eric climbed the 7 highest mountains on earth. He's blind. So did he make that? Did he divide that? Yes. He put fear aside and said, no, you know, fear is there to guide you, right? It's there to keep you alive. What you don't want to do is let it become your jailer. And that's really the key.
Love it. All right.
Cool.
The next one is, to me, fearless freedom means.
Oh wow, you know, it means it's that sweet spot in life. Um, Sometime between now and the next 3 weeks, I'm gonna have a granddaughter born.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Her name's Charlotte Ray. She's coming. Her brother, my grandson, and I are, you know, we spent 5.5 years together. So from a grandpa standpoint,
Yeah.
right? That's it doesn't get any better in life. And so when she comes, it just so resonates with that last distinction of the fearless part. What happens is that you can go where you want, when you want, as often as you want, with who you want, as often as you want. And that's because that's how important it is to learn to deal and use fear to your advantage. Breathing is everything with fear, by the way. I run a whole hour seminar on just breathing the correct way, diaphragmically, to deal with fear. Because typically when someone's fearful, what do?
Hyperventilate, of course.
Yeah, right.
Or they hold their breath. That's the other one.
They hold their breath or they hyperventilate, right? So when you can get your breathing under control, then all that changes. And that's the beauty thing with the Firewalk. That's why it's such a magical moment. It's because typically once they're there and I'm there with them and they're just ready to walk and they're dealing with the fight or flight, guess what I do? Eyes up. Take a nice deep breath for me. Now take another one. Take another one. So I bring a lot of oxygen into their body. So their body associates, oxygenate, breathe, deal with fear. When they come out of the third breath, boom, I walk them.
Nice.
And yeah, and so it's, you know, in right. So it's like that lasts forever. It's like, yes. Oh, do we need to do that again to make sure he got it right? Nope, he got it on the first round. Right. So that's the beauty of that. So really great question, Dr. G. Very well. Good job.
So the last one is my battle cry is.
My battle cry is, let's stop looking for heroes and be one. Okay. Can we just stop this nonsense? Can we stop mainstream media? Can we stop and dispense with all the nonsense? Look, I don't care whether you wore a mask or not. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. Whether you got a vaccine or you didn't, or you got 2 boosters, or you love Donald Trump or you hate Donald Trump, or, you know, I don't care. It has nothing to do with anything about how you and I should interact. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. Don't tell me how to live mine. And so we've lost that. People now think, you know, we need to act a certain way, like we're being told to do. No. And that's what's interesting about my generation. My generation isn't going to put up with that because our parents fought the wars. Our parents fought the Germans in World War II in Europe. We fought the Japanese in the Pacific, the Marine Navy. You know, all of my friends, all their dads and moms, my mom was Rosie the Riveter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she went
Dr. G, right? She was one of those women that all the women did everything during the war. They built the planes, they built the tanks, they built the jeeps, they assembled the guns, the rifles, the machine guns, the ammunition. They did all of that. And then at night they ran the the USO for all the
Mhm.
GIs, right? So I come from that generation, and I got news for you. My parents and that were not pansy asses by any means. They didn't throw things away. They came from the Great Depression. You fixed it. That's what you did, or you didn't have it. It's that simple. So, that's generationally, that's where I come from. So when you said, what's your battle cry?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, just come on. Be all that you can be. I dare you. Yeah, it's scary. I get it. And that's okay. Because that's what the world needs. This is what the world needs right now. It's people that can bring people back to the humanistic side of things and find love and peace and joy in us being humans together and working together and playing together and all of that. We get so caught up now in what's happening politically, and is this going to happen or is that going to happen? Well, nobody knows any of that. So why even go there? I've been hearing the end of the world for 69 years. And I can tell you right now, when I was a kid during the Bay of Pigs, when the Russians put the missiles in Cuba, that was probably just about as close to nuking the world as it would have ever got. And so, you know what they say in the Polynesian atmosphere, have fun, no worries, just relax, because this too will pass.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting, but I love it. I love that. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Definitely appreciate it. And you had some really good pearls to share too, which I think the audience is going to greatly appreciate as well. And just let us know one more time how people can reach you. Sure. Website.
Yeah, my website's very accessible. Phone numbers there, emails are there. Go to firewalkadventures.com and you can go there and see some really cool stuff, really great pictures. Fantastic. And stuff like that. Yeah. And so Thanks for doing that, Dr. G. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome. And I know we had some technical difficulties coming into this, but I'm sure glad we got it worked out. Thank you for your patience, and you're awesome. So again, thanks for bringing me in front of your audience.
Thanks for recording with us. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.